So here's a question for Christian believers, religious believers, whatever you label yourself as. Why would an infinite, all-knowing, all-powerful thing, because I wouldn't, using the word being, I think is limiting to the scope of God. So this thing of everything, and even things that aren't, has a compulsory need to be loved by this very finite, minuscule, limited in scope and understanding, carbon-based organism. He needs to be loved, or it needs to be loved, worshipped, praised, constantly recognized by this this little carbon-based organic organism, which is us. And when he's not worshipped, praised, loved by this limited carbon-based organism, he gets upset, he gets angry, he gets jealous, he gets sad. This is the foundation for, a pretty dysfunctional relationship. First of all, it borders on compulsory love, and I'll do another video demonstrating how God's requirements are compulsory, and it requires nothing short of mental gymnastics to walk around that fact. But that aside, shouldn't it make a critically thinking, critically minded person at least ask the question, why would God need that? And the apologist answers I've gotten is, well, we're his children, and wouldn't you feel jealous, angry, upset, mad, sad if your children didn't love you? True, but my children consume the greater part of my life. Okay? My existence, my physical existence at least, I know is finite. And if I have a child at the age of 25 and I die at the age of 75, that's 2/3 of my existence that's going to be maybe not completely consumed, but occupied by my child. And so that investment is great, and to not have some type of reciprocation of love or an emotion for my child, that would be devastating, and I would demonstrate anger, frustration, sadness, so on, etc. But I'm also human, okay? I'm limited by the neurochemicals, by the endocrinal, if I'm saying that right, hormones in my body with receptors throughout my brain that dictate my action, reaction, stimuli and response to not only everything internal, but everything external. If I was the all-knowing, all-powerful deity of everything, I would not be limited by that type of stimuli and response. I would not be limited by neurochemicals and hormones, unless I was a God created by someone who is limited by brain chemicals and hormones. Now we're getting somewheres. You see my point? My point is that based off of just what we read about God needing us to love Him. First of all, let me make one other point. I'll try to be as brief as possible. In order for God to be jealous, angry, sad, mad, whatever, that we don't love Him, He has to He has to create jealousy, anger, sadness. He has to create these concepts for Himself to experience. Would it not make more sense to just omit these emotions from existence? Omit the concept of jealousy that I believe there is somewhere in the Bible where it says, I am a jealous God. Delete those things from existence. You don't have to experience them. Once again, these are all questions based on critical thought. And every time I ask a Christian religious believer these questions, oh, I never thought of that. Sometimes, other times I'm hit with scorn and ridicule, and vast majority of the time I'm just ignored. So, and it's not to be insightful. I'm going to rephrase that. It's not to incite any type of escalated response for someone. It's a genuine question. And not only am I often amazed by the response or lack thereof that I get from Christians, but I'm amazed that every Christian I've ever spoken to has not considered this themselves. Not one. So maybe there is some correlation between religious belief and the capacity for critical thought or lack thereof. I don't know. You tell me.